everyone, this is Shokora Zouheikyoku aka chocomint, and welcome back to our Let's Play of Celestia. In the last playthrough, we have been paused at a cliffhanger where we got our apologies from Abel for the conflict between him and Solus the last time in their court. And we'll see what will happen next after that. I understand. I accept your apology. You did. You did. You did. You're lucky that I've taken a liking to you. The deadpan response makes him laugh. Yeah, I'm very lucky. In the brief silence that follows, I look Vel over. He's still dressed in his comfortable hunting gear, but now he has a bow slung over his shoulder. I nod at it with my chin. Any particular reason you're carrying this? Oh, I was planning to practice for a while. There are targets nearby. His eyes light up mischievously. Would you care to join me? It'll be just like the old times. He's leaning in, his smile by contrast bright and earnest. I can feel myself running back at him. To be totally honest, just like the old times isn't saying much, since the only other time I've been in a physical form is when I first became a Celestial a century ago. Even so, I'll like that. I pick up my salt-made bouquet of flowers and gesture for him to lead the way. We easily fall into step next to each other. So, do you remember the little bit of Valkyrie I taught you before? It's been a while since you first became a Celestial, in fact. I remember. I don't remember. I do. It was a lot of fun. Fun? He gives me a stern look. I should hope it was useful. He barely manages to maintain his serious expression for another second before his face splits into a grin. I chuckle, shaking my head. So, I may be a century out of practice, so shoot me. At this point, we've crossed the short distance to the side of the castle, where several targets line the wall. Thin lines on the ground mark the various distances from the targets. Vel slips the bow off his shoulder and hands it to me. Are you ready to show me what you can do? We start off at a close distance to the target, and I follow Vel's instructions and carefully position my feet, one behind the other. He hovers around me, adjusting my form. Move your back foot a little to the left. That's good. Align your shoulders with your hips. Here. He reaches to rest his hands on my shoulders, then pauses. May I? I nod. His palms are firm but soft when they come to my shoulders, gently moving me into the right posture. Up so close, I can feel the heat radiating from his body and the spicy notes of his perfume. His voice loses his usual teasing edge as he guides me. Now lift up the bow. You need to grip it a little lower. He clasps my hand on the bow to reposition it. But whatever he says next is drowned down by the rush of blood in my ears. His proximity, the press of his fingers against mine, his soft voice in my ear, it all makes it impossible to concentrate on his instructions. My cheeks are burning. For a few beats of my racing heart, I'm not sure if I can keep my grip on the bow. Then, he lets go and steps back, and I can only hope he doesn't notice how red my face is. Your form looks excellent. Draw when you're ready. It takes me a moment to gather my bearings. Then I give Val a small nod and push him out of my mind, willing myself to focus on the target in front of me. My heart is still lodged in my throat, but I force my breath into a steady rhythm. Inhaling deeply, I pull the string. I can do this. I feel the tension in my arm, the resistance of the wood as the bow bends to accommodate my draw. My vision narrows down to the target on the other end of the arrow. My feet are firmly rooted to the ground. I feel stable, bow and arrow an extension of my body. The gentle breeze matches the expansion and contraction of my lungs. I breathe out and release. The arrow sinks into the target with a satisfying thunk. It hits the innermost circle, slightly to the left and above the perfect center of the target. Just slightly. It is a pretty good shot. Val bounced over to give me a dazzling grin, clasping my shoulder. Beautiful shot. I knew you had it in you. You truly are a natural, aren't you? It was merely beginner's luck. Oh, thanks to your guidance. Why, I suppose I am. I'll be teaching you archery before long, Val. He takes another step closer to me, a dangerous glint in his eyes that makes my cheeks heat up. For a moment, I wonder if this is how he looks at the people he hunts. A smirk plays on his lips. I believe I'll like to see that. His eyes are drained on mine again, and I can only describe his expression as proud. I wish you realize how impressive you are, Dove. The praise blessed me with another burst of warmth, and I wonder how my cheeks haven't caught on the actual fire yet. I'm unused to this, unused to anyone looking at me with such intensity, and Val's. My palms were sweaty. I resist the urge to wipe them against myself. Since when does Val make me feel this way? Dove, is something the matter? I take a step back, slipping from underneath his hand. He looks down at it as it falls to his side, as if he'd forgotten about it being there. Not at all. I just recalled that I had an appointment with one of the other Celestials. I lost track of time, but I need to head back now. I try not to dwell too much on the way his face falls. Would you like me to walk you back? That would not be necessary. Thank you, Val. I hope I'll see you again soon. I hope so too. Be safe, Ilona. I barely linger long enough to let him finish speaking. With a small wave, I turn on my heel and hurry back to the castle, away from Val's piercing eyes and the warmth of his body. That was such a poor way to treat my good friend, especially when he was so kind as to give me accurate instructions. I can only hope that he isn't upset with me. As soon as I'm certain I'm out of sight, I press my hands to my face, embarrassed that I became so flustered. I must have gotten so used to my corporeal form that I cannot control my reactions. Did I used to blush so much the last time I was human? It's only when I have returned to my room that I realize I forgot my poker back by the accurate targets. I spent the rest of my day inside, investigating the castle's park grounds and the other common rooms. I run into the occasional other person, but it's no one I know, so I can mostly keep to myself. It's relatively early when I retire for the night, but my body is vying for its rest. On the way back to my room, I run into Prince Sekao. Thank you, Lana. Oh, good evening, Prince Sekao. He studies my face for a few long moments, his expression serious, but not unkind. I hope you'll be enjoying your time here. His voice is soothing, like running my hand over lush velvet. I nod. I have, thank you. Good. The first time back in your body can be a bit overwhelming, but I trust you have not been pushing yourself. Not at all, Your Highness. He nods, seemingly satisfied with my response. Solus asked me to let you know that our celebration of your appointment will continue tomorrow with a trip to the nearby town. Will you be coming? A trip? I realize I've only observed where we are from the heavens. The prospect of walking among the people whom I have spent so long observing from above makes my stomach twist in anticipation. Would they think me odd or unpleasant? Would anyone recognize me at all? Well, at least on the later question, I know the answer to. There are few on this world who have met me when I last descended, and yet live. So I must make the most of this opportunity. I picture Solus parading me in front of a crowd of cheering strangers, or strangers who are clapping and chanting my name. I'm not sure which option makes me more apprehensive. Thy keeper, Iluna. He takes a step toward me, his expression tight with concern, but even though he reaches his hand out for me, it stops before it's anywhere near close enough to touch me. I'm alright. It's simply I have no memory of this word, and it's been such a long time. I draw up, struggling to articulate myself. I've clasped my hands in front of my body without realizing, as though to protect myself. Sekau sighs and gives me a soft, sympathetic smile. There's no cause for fear, Your Grace. It has been a long time, certainly, but I have no doubt that your people still love and remember you. When my planet was young and I used to descend there, I would discover that those of my activities each century were documented and passed down. I imagine they must be similarly eager to see you. I suppose that doesn't alleviate my anxiety, but I don't know how to express my feelings to Sekau. It does not seem like he has ever questioned his standing or responsibilities, and I fear expressing my doubts would only be embarrassing. Being so new at this, I must seem terribly naive to him. Does every celestial start off so unsure, or am I in particular doing something wrong? I keep her, Ilona. Don't forget to stay grounded. I don't know how, but when I look into his eyes, it's as though he already knows what I am thinking, and he's right. I don't need to follow this train of thought to know it leads nowhere good. Instead, I push the fears out of my head for a moment, pull myself up, square my shoulders. Thank you for informing me about tomorrow, Prince Sakao. I look forward to seeing you on the trip. He inclines his head in confirmation. You will. Rest well, Daikidr, Iluna. Tomorrow morning, we will meet in the town's marketplace. A carriage will escort you there when you're ready. Thank you then. Good night. As soon as we part, I become preoccupied with worry again. My heart drums inside my ribcage uncomfortably loud. My stomach similarly cramped and painful. I'm supposed to meet the people I reside over tomorrow, but I can't help but feel that I'm not ready. I barely remember how to control my body, let alone how to conduct myself at such an event. Am I failing my people already? I should be looking for a partner to join skies with. But so far I've barely been able to connect with a few new acquaintances, and my only old one. The reflutter I feel in my bit of stomach does not help me steady myself. When I finally make it to my room, I'm nearly overcome with panic. My fingers tremble around the handle as I pull the door shut. I move to make a beeline for my bed, but something gives me pause. On the small desk under the window stands a delicate crystal vase. Inside it, there is an unfamiliar bouquet of spring flowers. A chuckle escapes my lips as I cross the room. Well, a folded piece of parchment is tucked under the vase. I gently pull it out and unfold it. For the most exceptional timekeeper, return something that belongs to you. V. I press a hand to my mouth. Exceptional. Vale's confidence in me dispels the fears that seemed so unsurmountable for a moment prior. I carefully fold the note again and clutch it in my palm. I go to sleep with Vale's note tucked under my pillow, but it doesn't ward off all my fears. My dreams are fitful, confusing threads of images and sensations. There's water, dark, churning, deafening water that lashes the earth in waves higher than any building, and nothing can withstand its incursion, not for long. People screaming and crying, but also singing. In my dream, I know the song, but I'm not singing along. I'm walking, pushing through a crowd, climbing up endless flights of stairs. The last thing I remember is an explosion of light behind my eyelids, within my bones. I wake up disorientated, my temples throbbing. My palatial bedroom is dim with the ever darkness on my planet. As I will my eyes to focus, my gaze lingers on the unfamiliar furniture, so pristine and unused. Literally, I wonder what happens to this place in the decades that none of the Celestials can use it in the physical form. Does it stand vacant, all wrapped up in white canvas, or does someone get paid to clean and air the rooms? Generations of people dedicated to managing a home without ever meeting its owners. I've never thought to look here before, and the thought makes me a little melancholy. Outside, the sky is the same indigo color it's always been, pink bricks with stars too distant to be invited. I wonder what the Celestials are doing. I wonder perhaps if there's another little room. I wonder if, perhaps there's another little moon out there feeling lost and uncertain like me. Drawing strength from the thought, I get ready for today's execution. Get ready as quickly as possible. Make sure my attire is appropriate for occasion. Get a fight first? Well, food is the first thing to think about, so food. A good breakfast is an essential part of the day, especially if there is to be a lot of physical exertion. I'd rather be on the safe side. Plus, I'm enjoying having an appetite again. And eating. Luckily for me, there is food laid out in the dining room once again. I sit down for a quick snack before making my way out of the castle. As Sekhouse said the night before, there is a carriage waiting for me in the courtyard. I asked the coach driver if I'm late, but they give me a reassuring smile and a shake of the hand. Apparently, some of the other guests have already departed, but not all of them. I'm relieved that I'm not going to be the last one to arrive. I settle in the soft seat of the carriage, bracing my elbow against the door and peering outside. The carriage rattles down a wide cobblestone road through a forest that's all but completely dark. I make out tall, straight trees and thick underbrush, though any animals that might reside within must have been scared away by the noise. I've spent the past 100 years looking over this world. I've memorized the biggest landmarks, oceans, mountains, but also smaller details of the scenery, such as peculiar shaped lakes, ancient forests, and mysterious rock formations. And of course, the hubs of human life, towns, cities, the routes that connect them. I can recognize so many places from above, but this is when I realize how different everything looks at eye level. That is to say, I have no idea where I am. With a sigh, I sink back into my seat. These last couple of days have been feeling like a dream. I suppose having a clear geographical location would only break the spell. The carriage brings me into what seems like a small but picturesque town. The street we're driving down is wide enough for us and the thin crowd of people that parks to let us pass. They whisper to each other as the carriage rolls past, craning their necks to see inside. A small Joe in bright yellow shirt is pointing straight at me through the window and tugging on their mother's sleeve. When I wave at them, they let out a happy shake. The street opens up into a wide square, and another second later my carriage pulls to a halt. Once again, it is Solus who opens the door for me. Hi, Keeper Ilona. I'm delighted to see you make it in one piece. Take the hand he offers. Don't take it. I'm going to be the one who hold a crutch, and also you were the one who is in conflict with Will. So I'm not going to take it. I ignore the hand he's offering and make my own way out the carriage. He is gallant now, but I cannot forget the way he spoke to Val that easily. A flash of surprise flickers across Sola's face, but his polite expression doesn't waver. Thank you for organizing this outing, Lord Solus. He inclines his head as he leads me from the carriage to a small group of people waiting nearby. I recognize a few of the Celestials I met at the pool. Sekhan's bright eyes meet mine as he gives me a small nod. Of course, as we're celebrating your heroism, it seemed appropriate to show you the life you helped preserve. Helped preserve? But he doesn't hear me. He's turned to the rest of our group, raising a single hand to command their attention. It seems that Lord Solus knows more of me than I know of myself. I know there has to be a library in this town that perhaps holds a key to my past. At the very least, so that Solus will stop surprising me with his knowledge. Thank you to everyone for attending this event. We shall commence a short walk through town, reconvening in the temple square to the west. Please ensure that you remember the rules about currency. When taking items, they must be exchanged with the coins I am about to hand you. He goes through the grounds, passing out the bags of coins. A sense of excitement fills me. The chance to buy and sell like the humans do. Please enjoy yourselves and, if you're so inclined, try the fried pastries that sell in some of the booths. They're a real delicacy of this world, so I encourage you to try it. While he's talking, I take a more careful look at the group, craning my neck a bit to scan the people farther to the back of it. I know that's where Vel could be, but I do not see him. The procession is getting ready to head down the street. Lord Solus. Yes, Tiger Luna. Where's Valandester? Solus' brows shoot up in deeply confused expression before he composes. Solus' brows shoot up in a deeply confused expression before he composes himself. Valandester has not been invited to this outing. I'm certain you understand why. I don't, no. But I would be glad to hear your explanation. My tone comes out more curt than intended, but Solus seems unfazed. I keep her, Luna. Valandester is not a member of the court. When he gave up his title, he also gave up his inclusion in such events. But he is my friend. I am aware of that, which is why I didn't object to inviting him to the ball. However, I deemed it inappropriate to extend an invitation to him today. He disgraced himself when he made his decision, and he has got no place among this company. That is not the first time he's mentioned that, but I'm still unsure what he's referring to. What do you mean, his decision? Sola studies my face for a moment before speaking slowly. Valandester was a member of the Celestial Court like you and I. However, he took issue with his appointment and position, and I chose to be removed from that position. He gave up his noble title to become a bounty hunter. The ghost of a smile curved his lips. Ironically enough, he's hunting other Celestials who have abandoned their duties. I will never understand why the Council of the Great Cosmos allowed him to stay a Celestial, even if it is in that material form of his. I considered this information. I knew most of it already, but having it laid out in this manner makes me feel like I understand Val better, and Solus as well. He's always seemed quite passionate about his beliefs, and I didn't doubt he had the determination to follow through like this. It also explains why he and Solus butt heads so much. Solus must have seen his action as a betrayal of his own value. But even in his current role, Bell helps people, doesn't he? If a Celestial leaves the position, won't the world die? I begrudgingly admit that bringing raw Celestials who choose to abandon the world for selfish gain is marginally better than Valandester's fate. Still. But he's doing something he's good at, just as you are. I suppose that is true. Yet I cannot condone his actions. It doesn't look like he's going to budge on this point, so I drop it for the time being. I appreciate your telling me about this, Los Solis. Certainly, Timekeeper. It is prudent to inform you of former court proceedings. I know how confusing it must all be. And I apologize for disappointing you, Timekeeper Luna. He looks genuinely troubled when he says it, but I know it's because he can see my upset and not because he believes he did anything wrong. And the truth is, I am disappointed because I hope to see Val today. He's the only one who makes me feel like I'm not a complete outsider among these people, and the time we can spend together in human form is very limited. I don't say any of that out loud. Instead, I smile and bow my head. I'm certain that today will be a very enjoyable regardless. I gesture at the group of Celestials slowly parading down the street. Shall we get going? As much as I would have liked to spend more time with Val, I won't be able to today. I can choose someone else to accompany me, or I can walk by myself. Walk with Solus, walk with Sekhao, and walk alone. So obviously I won't be walking with Solus because for obvious reasons, we have romanced him before, so no. Walk with Sekhao is that I don't think so. Despite how charming he is, this is not the target. He is not our love interest. So maybe walk along and hope for the best. I hesitate for a moment, but when the first people begin walking, I join the section. My gaze drifts along the facades of the surrounding buildings, the people clustering in front of them. I lock eyes with a few people, but they turn away almost immediately. They don't seem afraid, but rather embarrassed. I can't blame them. I'm getting embarrassed myself. I don't think I'm the sort of person who enjoys being the center of attention. I slow down until I find myself toward the end of the group. When I notice the questioning looks of some of my companions, I pretend to be engrossed in admiring a statue we pass by. Then, the smell hits me. Dough, burnt sugar, and roasted walnuts mingling together into the mouth-watering scent of fresh pastry. I realize it must be from one of the stalls. So let's mention, but I didn't expect it to smell so good. I wander over the booth that's selling them. May I have one, please? The merchant nods, their eyes ever so slightly widened as they take in my shimmering attire and the glow on my skin. And then they busy themselves with repairing the pastry. You're very pretty. The sudden voice gives me a start, and I look around for a second before realizing it came from below. It's the child with yellow shirt I saw earlier, staring up at me with bright brown eyes. Their long brown hair is tied into an elaborate braid, and their face is dabbled with freckles. They're giving me a toothy grin. Oh, thank you, little one. You're very sweet. I want to be like you when I grow up. The words make me giggle. I crouch down to the child's eye level. Is that so? They nod eagerly. You're brave and kind, and I really like your hair. I mean, her hair is pretty. It's really silvery. I feel myself blush at their earnest praise. Thank you, your hair is very pretty too. I know, my older sister braided it for me. They proceed to chat about their older sister and their older siblings, and I listen attentively, nodding along. We're interrupted when the seller hands me my pastry. I take it and we offer it to the child. Do you want a sweet? May I? I nod. Their face lights up in delight as they take the pastry. Thank you. You're welcome. Be careful, it's hot. The merchant wordlessly hands me another pastry and shakes their head as I attempt to pay them with the funds Solus allotted to us. It's on the house. I breathe in the sweet scent wafting off the roll in my hands. Thank you. Turning back to the child, I inform them that I need to go. They bowed, but not as though this was a grim inevitability that they were expecting all along. What's your name, little one? It's Teddy. Teddy, it was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for telling me about your family. And don't worry about being like me when you grow up. You're already wonderful being yourself. Teddy laughs between bites of pastry, waving at me as I hurry to rejoin the procession. I wave back. My heart feels full after the encounter and the pastries making my mouth water. Trying not to attract the attention of the other celestials, I take a bite. It's just as delicious as it smells, sweet and rich with cinnamon, and there's an almost painful familiarity, a memory just on the cusp of my perception. I wish I could reach it, but the more I grasp for it, the more distant it feels. Eventually, I give up and resign to just nibbling the flaky treat. The thought that this is not the first time I've eaten this is an oddly reassuring one. The procession weaves through the town slowly, magnificently, taking in the sights and conversing in quiet voice. The vague feeling of familiarity never quite leaves me. Although I cannot pinpoint anything specific that I recognize, I wonder if I could, even if my memories were intact. How much has this place changed in the past century? I've seen towns expand and become abandoned, new roads be built, but it's different on this smaller scale. When I'm watching the weather buildings and cannot tell if I've ever laid eyes on them before. Has the pavement ever been changed? Trees cut down and new ones replanted. How many parts of its old self can a town lose before it's not the same town anymore? I can't help but ask myself if I am the same person I used to be, or whether I've been rebuilt from the ground up. I suppose I can never really know. Eventually, we reach our destination, the square Solus indicated earlier. It's smaller than the one we started and a nearly perfect circle. In the center of it stands a marble statue. It's perfectly smooth and well maintained, so white that it seems to emit a light of its own. As we draw closer, I begin to make out the details. Its outstretched arms, palms open to the sky above, the lovingly carved folds of the dress. The ground inlaid with real gems that catch the light as I come closer. I reach the statue and look up at it. My own face stares back at me. I gasp, pressing a hand to my mouth. The likeness is striking. This is, without a doubt, the face I see in the mirror. The expression I wear, is serene, but determined, triumphant. I cannot tear my eyes from it. It's confusing to see myself like this, though I can tell the statue has been created with great care. How could I have overlooked this from the heavens? Yeah, people remember you fondly, Your Grace. I hadn't noticed Solus Abuch. He stands at my side, gazing up at the statue as well. You are revered as a great hero, with stories about your sacrifice being told to this day. There is even a holiday dedicated to you. But I'm not that special. I'm honored. I've always thought people should party in my name. I always thought that people should party in my name. Solus doesn't reply immediately, but then he lets out the softest little laugh. I can only describe it as a giggle. You never cease to surprise me, Your Grace. I think I shall take that as a compliment. Thank you for bringing me here to see this, Lord Solus. It feels good to learn more about myself and my history. It's feel different than I imagined it would be, but it means a lot to know that the people on this planet hold me in such high regard. I will strive to live up to it to the best of my abilities. I have no doubt you will succeed. We spent some time in the square, with the rest of the quest blocked into the statue as well. Some of them ask questions, some of them congratulate me. All express their admiration for the artwork. I respond as best as I can, thanking them and praising the creator. Even though their conversation is enjoyable, I'm still a little distracted. The meaning of being immortalized in marble is a bit too large for me to grasp. Did I have any friends or relatives here who saw the statue? Or was it made after their time? As I consider that, my thoughts drift to Val, the only friend I've had since I became a Celestial. I wonder if he knows anything about this. I bet he would tease me if he did. As though he has read my mind, Solus speaks up. As a point of curiosity, I just recall that Valandester used to inhabit a star quite close to your moon, Zouheikyoku. You used to be neighboring star systems, neighbors even, of a sort. Really? Indeed. I had no idea. It's not a surprising thought that my friend shares the corner of the firmament, but it makes me wonder, did Val know me before I became a Celestial? Does he know something about my past? I resolve to ask him as soon as I can. With the main events of the day having been thoroughly admired, the party slowly heads back to our starting point. I preoccupied with my tasks on the way back, not paying much attention to my surroundings. I exchanged the occasional brief sentence with my companions, but my mind is still in the square behind us. It's a relief when I'm back in the solitude of my carriage. Did you enjoy your outing, Zouheikyoku? I did, thank you. I leaned my forehead against the window and closed my eyes, focusing on the rhythmic clack of Hood's shoes. A feast is prepared for when we return to the castle, but I feel a little worn out by social events and not particularly hungry. I spend most of the evening sitting quietly in my chair, pushing my food around my plate. Beside me, Zouheikyoku observes intently until his gaze begins to make me sweat with its weight. What is it? Nothing. His reply is quick, but his eyes do not budge. Just something seems to be the matter, Zouheikyoku Luna. It's all right, Your Highness. I'm not upset, just tired. There's a lot to think about after today. I understand how disorienting it is to learn about your past when you have no recollection of it. We've all been there. Quite so. I can't shake the feeling that it was someone else who did this, and I am nothing more than an impostor. This position proves that it is not true, and yet I cannot help but worry. His Highness nods, the depths of his eyes seeming just a little bit less bottomless with his sympathy. It will get easier with time. You have not been a celestial for very long. It's been more than 100 years. That's more than the lifespan of most humans. Perhaps, but for a celestial, you're still quite young. And even if you weren't, there's no time limit on figuring out your identity, past or present. Be patient with yourself. The rest will come when you're ready. You're very wise. He chuckles, the sound barely audible. Not at all. I'm just very old. I don't know if I can ever be like you. Your support means a lot to me. You don't look a day over 1,000. You don't look a day over 1,000. Zouheikyoku's expression remains neutral, but I can see the corners of his mouth twitching. I'm glad that my beauty routine seems to be effective. Oh my god. Oh my, that's a cute joke. I stifle a giggle behind my hand. Zouheikyoku's eyes travel through the room, observing the other guests. The crowd has started to thin. Everyone here has been in your position at some point. We will all understand if you need time to handle it. But I'm expected to be able to pick a partner within the next few days. The words bubble out me with surprising intensity. I've avoided thinking about it too much, but it's created a pressure at the back of my mind nonetheless. To my surprise, Zouheikyoku waves a dismissive hand. Your Grace, if I may be so blunt. Yes? No one would ever pressure you into a commitment you are not ready to make. You should only join your sky with a person you're certain about. If there is no such person, you are more than welcome to take your time. He says it so confidently that I nearly laugh. For a moment, it seemed silly to have worried about it at all. Of course, no one would force me to decide something like that. Thank you, Lord Zouheikyoku. That really helps. He inclines his head and then straightens up. It seems our conversation has come to an end. It was a pleasure to converse with you, Lady Luna. I bid you a good night. You too. Rest well. A few minutes after Zouheikyoku has departed, I too head to bed. My head is buzzing with the events of the day. I wish Val was around so I could discuss them with him. I'm sure he would have a valuable perspective on everything, or at the very least, a joke that would make it all seem more normal. He's always seemed so confident and unflappable. Perhaps he can give me some pointers. Or maybe he would tell me that this is all merely celestial nonsense, and I shouldn't let it get under my skin. As I settle in bed, I decide to try and find him tomorrow. I still want to ask him about my past and what he makes of my current situation. The thought of talking to him is both comforting and exciting. I haven't forgotten the strange fluttering sensation I felt the past time I was around him. I will need to sort out how I feel about him sometime soon. With that last uneasy thought, I drift off to sleep. Today seems to be another slow, leisurely day. I go through my morning routine without anyone coming to inform me about any outstanding events. So I assume I have been, once again, left to my own devices. That suits me just fine. Today, I have an objective of my own, to track down a certain bounty hunter. It doesn't take me long to get ready for my quest. The only thing I still need to do is decide where to start looking. And this should be a good time to pause for our playthrough today. We have a wonderful night out with a lot of Celestial thanks to Los Solos, but we didn't manage to meet Val again at the outing, but we do learn a bit more about ourselves. We got a statue, a marble statue with a likeness to our face. Nice. And a lot of missing memories, a lot of uncertainty about ourselves, about our past. And it should end with a good time of all meeting, trying to fight Vale, because the night before, even though I tried to fight Vale or hope that we will fight Vale, we didn't. So that's a shame. Let's hope that this time we will find Vale. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next playthrough of Celestia. Bye bye!